The Cheeseboy628 Show, starring Cheeseboy628.
Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Cheeseboy628 here today, giving you another Theory Thursday, and I'm not alone on this one, for I'm with my buddy SampleSounds.
Hey guys, what's up?
Yeah, so today we're going to discuss a somewhat new topic. It's not going to be on a tiering of any certain Pokemon. It's rather special this time. We're actually going to be talking about the item Assault Vest. So there are definitely many points to talk about in regards to Assault Vest, and we know it's a pretty general topic, so we decided to narrow it down to a few points to talk about. And this consists of its viability when it's useful, viability when it's not so useful, and then some pretty well-known Pokemon for when it's most viable. So let's talk about when it's most viable and just give a brief analysis of the item itself.
Alrighty. Well, for those that don't know, Assault Vest is an item where when you have it on, you get a 50%, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
50% increase to your special defense, but it makes you to where you can only use damaging moves. So that's a brief overview of that. And we were saying when it's most useful?
Yes.
Usually you're going to want to use it on a Pokemon that has a large move pool and a fairly decent special defense, or needs that special defense.
Right, yeah. Even when regards to move pool, I know it's what you meant, but just to clarify that it's a large offensive move pool.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Definitely have nice coverage to be direct with that. Yeah, so when it's most viable, yes, its goal is to give you as much SPDF as possible. And sometimes I've honestly seen it viable on both ends of the spectrum, pokes that have really nice SPDF, and then pokes that really don't have too much SPDF. And then even it's really just viable on a ton of pokes, which makes it really cool. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But basically what's so great about Assault Vest is if you don't have enough SPDF, as many pokes are famous for using, it gives it enough of a boost that it's just going to be bulky enough. And then there are those that just have tremendous SPDF already that simply don't have recovery moves where they're able just to wall even better on the special side. So that's something I really take into account when I think of Assault Vest. I think that it's when they don't have a reliable recovery move that Assault Vest is the best way to go if you are looking for a more defensive variant, because that way they actually have a way of being bulkier, tanking more hits, and really the best time you're thinking of using Assault Vest, if it's when it's usually defensive poke, at least. I've seen offensive pokes, which we'll talk about later, that have worn Assault Vest, but I think of it as, would you rather have leftovers recover or leftovers roost on a poke as opposed to having Assault Vest? Any thoughts on that?
I personally like to have a Pokemon that's going to stick around for a while, and Assault Vest will allow you to do that because you'll take more hits, and with the right support you can easily overcome the not being able to recover or anything like that. But it is taken how it is. But I believe this actually takes us into our next topic, which is, what was it?
Yeah, it does. I'd say before we talk about when it's not so viable, why don't we talk about some of our favorite pokes to use them?
Alrighty, that worked for me.
Alright, cool. So I might as well start off. I will say that T-Tar. Well, no, I'll let you say T-Tar because I know we don't want to have too much of an overlap here. One very famous poke for using Assault Vest is Conkeldurr, along with a couple others that are pretty much up there. Conkeldurr is a nice fit because it has a very decent HP stat of 105, it has a decent SPDF stat of 65, and well, it has base 140 attack, and most sets I see are max HP, max attack, adamant, although I have seen some with some speed investment and SPDF investment and that kind of thing. But the prime reason that Conkeldurr is a pretty good candidate for Assault Vest is the fact that it has decent SPDF along with nice HP, and it has a decent defense stat of 95, but the fact that Assault Vest is able to make up a little bit of that lost SPDF is pretty nice. After all, it can take a Sheer Force Life Orb Lando and still live with at least about a third of health and then just easily retaliate with an Ice Punch. Now, there are a couple other really nice pokes that I have seen. I haven't experimented too much with Assault Vest, and I definitely say unfortunately because it's a great item to try out. Gudra was one of the most popular ones just starting right out, and I still think it's really nice. Has amazing move pool, it has an insane 150 SPDF stat, and it has decent base 90 HP. Not so great on the defense side, but that's not too bad being a special wall. But yes, it has the Bolt Beam coverage as Flamethrower and T-Bolt, Dragon Pulse, Sludge Bomb. It's just got amazing move pool, and the fact that even if you just max HP, max special attack, you're still going to wall a ton of things on the special side, and you're really, like, the only Assault Vest set that I've run is max HP, max SPDF, which is just insane to even think about when you have the Assault Vest on. And what I like about both of these is the fact that neither of them have reliable recovery unless you count Drain Punch from Conkeldurr, which is why another reason why it's a great candidate for Assault Vest. But I don't want to ramble on too much, so going on for another one that I've seen, Donphan. Donphan's decent, doesn't have reliable recovery besides if you want to use leftovers over it, and really it doesn't have the greatest of SPDF stats. I think it's 50, and so once you give it Rapid Spin plus a few attacks, it's going to be pretty nice, although it's in exchange for not being able to use Stealth Rock. And couple more, I say the Slowbro and Slowking duo. Both of them work pretty decently. Slowbro because it does have amazing defense, and the fact that Assault Vest will make up for its somewhat lackluster special defense. It's still pretty decent. They both have base 95 HP, and Slowking is decent because of the fact that it has amazing SPDF already, that it's going to take T-Bolts and other things from things like Thunderous even. So they're both pretty bulky in that aspect. Alright, why don't you go on with your favorites?
My favorites are actually a little bit different from you. My first one is actually something that I've ran for my first Wi-Fi team.
That's right.
It's a Togekiss. It's got a fairly good special defense now that I'm actually looking at it, base 115.
Yeah.
And I actually ran, I believe it was a max special attack, max HP, and it lived hits on the special side. It was actually really good. So I mean, that's pretty good. Its move pool can give you pretty good coverage. So that's really all you need to know for Togekiss. It's just really good for that. And then I also chose Mew because Mew can literally be anything you want it to be. It can be an attacker, a special attacker, wall on both sides, and giving it that Assault Vest will just give you the special defense wall that you need or want. And then, as Cheeseboy said a while ago, somewhat mistakenly, but is Tyranitar. With Tyranitar, it's a rock type and it has Sandstream, so it's already going to get a special defense boost. And then if you give it an Assault Vest, it just raises it. I don't even know what it'd be maxed out at level 50 or 100. Do you know that, Cheese?
I don't know the exact number, but to put into perspective, when you take the Sandstorm boost plus Assault Vest, just multiply its special defense by 2.25.
Yeah, that'd be 225 right there. Well, base.
Yeah, just the fact that you're over doubling its special defense is pretty insane.
Yeah, and right now I actually have a specially defensive Mega Tyranitar for my Wi-Fi team. And its moveset, since I didn't breed it with Stealth Rock, is actually really good because it Power Up Punch and all three of its normal attacks. But I think Assault Vest would go really well with Tyranitar. And then we get actually into one of the more common ones that I've seen, which is Escavalier. It does have a pretty big weakness to the fire, and I actually believe it does live some fire hits with the Assault Vest attached to it. So, and a 105 base SPDF is actually really good considering it's a bug, but it's also steel type, so that's got it going for it. But really, the drawback with Escavalier is not that big because it does have a pretty sizable move pool, and the speed will get you down, and you just need some good support with him. And then the same goes for my last one, which is Ferrothorn. 116 base special defense, which is the biggest out of these without any sandstorm or whatever. And it's the same speed as Escav, and I haven't actually seen Assault Vest Ferrothorn too often, but I know it's going to become somewhat common, possibly.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's all for me, so...
Yeah, so there are a couple things that we can talk about, as we do have somewhat different viewpoints of Assault Vest on when it's not so viable. So the first two you mentioned do consist of Mew and Togekiss, and both of them do have access to Roost. So I do understand that you get natural special bulk from this Assault Vest, but the fact that you could run Leftovers plus Roost in this case could... And I know it's pretty much just a debate here on when to use it, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Because both of them have decent SPDF stats for sure, 100 and 115 respectively. And it's really the idea of, sure, you'll get the bulk, but then also you can add another item instead that'll help you somewhat in a sense on the defensive side, because that way you're still getting recovery that helps you, as opposed to Assault Vest only helping the SPDF side. And then there's also the fact that Roost, or any recovery move for that matter, does take an extra turn while Assault Vest is automatically just on you. So it's, I guess in that case, it's really just fitting to what team you're trying to use. I was thinking, what do you run on Togekiss? There's Air Slash, Fire Blast, Dazzling Gleam. What else is there to run offensively?
My set
when
we had battled, I believe, was Psyshock, Flamethrower, Dazzling Gleam, and Air Slash. But you can also run Aura Sphere, just looking really quick. Extra Sensory gets that. And then, like you said, Fire Blast, and actually it gets Grass Knot too. That's interesting. But yeah, it gets a wide range of attacks.
Yeah, and speaking of wide range of attacks, we have freaking Mew. Now, something about Mew that is somewhat questionable. I know that it can have access to like Drain Punch and then like everything all over the spectrum. But the problem, I don't know, not a problem, but I think what Mew is well known for is its versatility and, well, lo and behold, freaking Baton Pass. But the idea that it's able to set up a Swords Dance or a barrier and things are what's really amazing about Mew, I guess you could say. And the fact that Assault Vest takes away any form of setup may be a bit crippling toward it.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, but like I said when I was talking about it, it can be anything you want it to be, so...
This is true. And the fact that you could add Assault Vest to it could make it somewhat unique. Now, speaking of setup or just non-attacking moves in general, you did mention Ferrothorn as well. And Ferrothorn has been fairly well known as being a more defensive guy this gen, as for the most part I've seen that people are not afraid to take a Willow with Ferrothorn despite having decent attack and decent dual stab, especially for its stats and typing. But the idea that Ferrothorn can be most well known for Stealth Rock and Spikes, I don't know, I find it a little bit crippling to have Assault Vest on it, despite, I mean, I've seen Banded sets all the way back in like 5th.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know, Banded Stealth Rock was sometimes a thing. But yeah, once again, it's a little bit of just situational, which is why this is such a broad topic to talk about, and the idea that what things work and what doesn't can really only be situational in a lot of these senses.
Yeah, definitely.
So now, I think there are some things we will be able to agree on when Assault Vest is not viable, though. First off, of course, let's talk about some obvious things. It's not going to be viable when you don't have a poke at its maximum evolution, like at the line of its end of its
like
evolutionary
first
line.
or second.
Right, because of course in that case a violet will be much more useful. That's why Assault Vest is of course useless in tiers like Little Cup. So there's a couple of pokes, I haven't tried out too many of them, but it was just because I didn't have too many items left on Wi-Fi that I tried using Assault Vest Starmie. And maybe it's just the fact that I made it off, that it was already offensive, but Assault Vest just did not cut it for me whatsoever. I don't know Starmie's stats off the top of my head, but I can easily find it here. But yeah, it has base 60 HP, base 85 SpDef. It's honestly not too bad, but then again I didn't have investment in it, but it just did not take hits. So things you have to consider for Assault Vest, definitely HP. I almost think that HP is slightly more important than SpDef, because that way, that's the reason that Blissey works so well, and especially in Chansey as well. The reason Chansey can be considered a ridiculous physical wall is just because its supreme amount of HP. And obviously it has 5 defense, which is not going to do anything for you. Maybe 10 defense. But the fact that it has so much HP is the reason that it's able to take close combats from monsters like Terrakion at times. And so, really just the first thing you have to consider is HP in my opinion. Would you disagree? Would you care more about SpDef in your opinion? What do you think?
Well, you said Blissey and Chansey. I don't think you'd actually want to use an Assault Vest on those two.
No.
Because while they can, like, have a 4 special attacks or whatever, it's probably not best to use it with them.
Of course, Chansey no because of Violet, and then Blissey, people joked around with that because of its just ridiculous bulk already on the special side. And it does have a decent move pool, sure, but like obviously it's meant to be more of a support.
Yeah, but as to what's more important, HP or special defense, I think I'm gonna have to agree on you with this and say that HP is a little bit more important.
All right, cool, yeah. Were you going to say something, Fred?
No.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Is there anything else you think you would consider when not using Assault Vest? Anything else that would be more crippling? I know we had the argument of when you have the access to a recovery move, but of course that can be mostly situational. But there are times when you use flying pokes, such as Togekiss, that you want to use Assault Vest, but the fact that, let's say you come in on rocks, you're going to be at a quarter of your health, you're not going to have leftovers on the switch in, and you're not going to be able to press Roost, and you automatically lose that much health from the hazard, and unless you get like a wish past you or anything of that sort, you're not going to be able to get that health back.
And you're definitely correct on that. It's something that I actually lacked in my first Wi-Fi team, and I kind of regretted it sometimes, where I just didn't have that wish support, and you really need that wish support.
Okay, yeah, so that will be something to consider. When you have Assault Vest, make sure you do have some kind of wish support and some kind of cleric, because otherwise, who's going to be doing the status healing or just HP healing for you?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. I think that does a decent sum up of Assault Vest. Is there anything else you'd want to say?
No, but you should subscribe to Cheeseboy.
Well, thank you quite much. You should subscribe to Sample Sounds. He will be having his link in the description. And with that said, thank you all for watching. Like, comment, 7 until later. Peace.